In Switzerland, a giant retail company called Migros, however you pronounce it, was forced to apologize after the labels on cream containers they sold contained pictures of Hitler. That's probably the last thing anybody would ever want to see when they're involved with any product. And I'd be surprised if anybody actually used the product after you saw the face of Hitler. I would think, what is this? Did somebody put like cyanide or anthrax in the product? I'm not going to eat this because that's a pretty ominous sign. So they say they have no idea how the pictures got there in the first place, but they ended up recalling 2,000 containers from German-speaking parts of Switzerland. Some containers also had pictures of Mussolini. This story is so ridiculous. Now, some people might assume that, well, this is just a practical joke. It's just trolling. I don't know, or I don't think so, actually, because a situation that's not discussed nearly enough today is the resurgent love of fascism in certain parts of the world. And, for example, we covered this on Secular Talk a year or two ago about how in Italy there's a growing movement for another Mussolini-like dictator, a character to take over the country. And I remember reading the quotes in the story at the time, and they basically said, well, yeah, Mussolini had a lot of downsides, but he did create order and the trains ran on time. And I thought, ooh, this is fucking scary, because we're having a turn towards radicalism in many ways, too. For the record, it's not just a radical turn to the right. In many places, there's also a radical turn to the left. So if you look in Greece, for example, there's the Golden Dawn Party. They are flat out upfront about the fact that they believe in a neo-Nazi ideology. And also, they hold 18 seats in the Greek parliament. You want to talk about scary? Neo-Nazis holding seats in parliament. That's as scary as it gets. And the counter extreme to that is there are some open and avowed communists, and they protest in the street all the time. And why is this happening? See, this is where it gets even more interesting, is that the unemployment rate in Greece specifically is over 20% because of massive austerity that's been imposed on them after the Great Recession. So they have depression-like numbers for their economy, and radicalism in that country is one of the highest throughout all of Europe. There's definitely a connection there. And we see this all over the place. Sometimes it's based just on some crazy individuals believing in an ideology. Like I think there was a store in, where is it, India, where they had a store named Hitler. Yeah, it's just stunning that stuff still exists. But oftentimes, probably a majority of the time, whenever you have love for these extremes, it stems from some genuine feeling of disenfranchisement and powerlessness, and they turn anywhere for answers. Moderation in their eyes didn't work, so they go, okay, I'll run to some extreme, let me just pick an extreme and I'll go in that direction because anything is better than what's happening right now. So in total, in Europe, Austria, Denmark, France, Germany, Hungary, Italy, the Netherlands, and of course Greece, they all have some elected fascists in their governments. And in the European Parliament overall, there are 52 far-right members. And again, the majority reason, the main reason why it's happening, austerity. When you do radical spending cuts, when the population is starved of financial well-being, when there's a war on the middle class and a war on the poor, when people don't have job opportunities, the end result is something like this. They're scrambling for answers, they don't know where to look for answers, and they go to the worst possible answers to the point where they actually look through rose-colored glasses at some of the worst characters in history, people like Mussolini and people like Hitler.